Bantu podcast. Mugamba mutya mukulikeyo mu weekend mwena. It was a good week, I hope. My audio is not very good today. Fahad ajja kunyambako as we go on. Wiki baddemu mpanvu, baddemu ebintu bingi, baddemu headlines, of course, the big headlines. ICG. Julia Septinde. Tujja kubyogerako maaso awo naye nga oli otya Fahad?
Then this today, in the last weekend for the first month in 2024, which is really exciting. Abantu abasinga ndowooza batandise dda okugezaako achieving goals for the year. A lot has happened within just the first month of 2024. The biggest headlines being obviously Kesia, South Africa in ICJ. Many of us were surprised by Uganda, Judge Uganda, the first African woman to sit on the ICJ, like decision they are taking, or going against Gundi case yona South Africa to try and help out the people in Gaza and Palestine. She went against every decision. So that was really surprising to me. Nae abantu abamu actually were surprised. If you didn't know, for whatever reason, Uganda always seems to side with Israel. So we need to debunk that a little bit. Like Lwachi Uganda ever siding on Israel, which is really ironic. Kumanga, if you think about it, at some point there was a proposal for Israel to be established in Uganda. Imagine that. So like Abantu Abadi Palestine, what they're going through, we could be going through that right now in Uganda, Kampala. But then like the whole thing was just so weird because Justice Julia Sebutinde has always been like an advocate for human rights and things like that. So many people actually thought she would side with the Palestinians, right? So it was a bit surprising that she took that stand. It sounds like what we're actually at play. Or watch it again.
Yeah,
does that make sense?
So many people's hearts around it.
Yeah. It sounds like there's a lot at play. Kubanga abantu abasinga balowooza omuntu wabeera kweyo chair ya gundi among the judges in the ICJ, the decisions they actually take are not a representation of the country, Uganda. Kubanga oyinza osanga nga like stance ya Uganda ng'ensi yo yennyini doesn't agree with that, but then she has to take a professional position based off her judgment in terms of law and things like that. But at times when someone is put in like a position of power, they can be influenced by the higher ups or the political powers at play. Into much as in a professional opinion, ogenda okwesanga nga bagenda kosa position to try and further an agenda. So for me, but this is just my own personal opinion, Chendo was that Kubanga leading up to this, like Uganda's relationship with Israel has always been solid. Or watch it again. What relationship between Uganda and Israel from a military perspective?
Never to 1972, I think.
I mean, Gawari or watch together. But ever since that happened, try and this is me just posing questions. I don't have the answers, but just to pose questions to you. I mean, the Prime Minister we are visiting Uganda twice. There's a time he visited Uganda twice in a space of like 3 or 4 years. He's not done it for any other African country, but he did it for Uganda. Why? What was discussed? And what does that relationship look like? Osobola okubyanonyerezako weka ku Google.
Ndabako short videos on TikTok and YouTube, and people have been so heartbroken. Decision actually bwe baannawunsinga bajjajja bagenda beera ku panel balaba linnya lya Joya Septinde bwe munagamba, oh yeah, now this one, of course, legit,
Yeah.
Byakoze bingi. The work that she has done speaks volumes on the African continent and in Uganda as well. So she's
Exactly.
critical.
Mm.
Naye that pain, kati abantu abamu baba boogera ku bya Africa being united and taking control.
Yeah.
That is where the whole picture comes in now. Abantu beero bagamba, you know what, this is happening, it's this, it's that, and they don't seem to take it as serious. Naye kati awo omanyira nti tetuli independent nga bwe tulowooza nti Israel ejja
Yeah.
kuva eri egambe, this is, I don't care about your judge, this is
Kino tetwagala kuyisa.
kyetwagala muyise. Okitegeera?
Yeah.
And that pain, people have been feeling that for the last maybe 50, 60 years in Africa as a whole.
Yeah.
But it's what it is, anyway. Terichakola. But for us, we keep moving forward. Ngawe twali last weekend twaliwo, but it was a good show. Stella yaliwo nga tunyumiza why we need to come together more than ever. Now, more than ever. As Africans, mpola, and you see when you follow on YouTube and Facebook and TikTok and
Yeah.
messages of unity from South Africa to Morocco to Gambia, Guinea, abantu basinga boogera with one voice. We are tired. Tukoye. When will that time be? And fena tubeere nga tussa kimu nga the African continent, like other continents actually. I think yaffe yokka yeri in that state, and partly it's because of the scars of colonialism. They're just starting to heal now. Some scholars tell you have to be very, very careful about the future of Africa, especially the kind of population that is being nurtured right now. Abaana abato abali mu kkula, you're not going to more so bribe them. I call it bribing with religion, with white supremacy, with selling the picture of a white person being the savior. So most of the kids togenda bagamba ebyo tebagenda biwuliriza. Okitegeera? And they're going to grow up and say, okay, but I'm in Europe, I'm in Washington, I'm in Texas right now. I'm actually a grandparent. This is maybe 50 years or 100 years later. But where did I come from? Navawa, My people are back home. Jebali mu Africa, Jebali South Africa, Jebali Uganda, Jebali wa. And now when they come and start demanding for what rightfully belongs to them, there isn't a force strong enough to stop them.
Yeah.
So, byonna ebigenda mu maaso kati, there will be a time to pay. Actions have consequences. I usually say that a lot. But to prepare for that time, we need to equip ourselves with knowledge. Tubeere nga abantu bagamba nti man, regardless of what you do, home remains home. Tuliwo okukola bukozi ssente and make a livelihood for ourselves. But at the end of the day, very few people, when they die, get buried here. Buli omu ayagala kuddayo eri. So that means we have a beginning, there will be an end, but your end is actually at the place where everything began. Not just as you a person, but as the black race. So we prepare for those days, we prepare for those times that will come and help shape the future of Africa and nurture the children and the children's children. There is better. We can do better than what we are doing right now. I appreciate each and everyone that is trying to raise a voice, speak up. Mu lulimi lwonna lw'oyagala because olumu mbeera ku TikTok okwo nendaba abantu nga boogera Oluswahili, abalala boogera Kumasi, abalala boogera Igbo, so many African languages, you know, lwakuba kubako video captions olumu you following the conversation, but they're all resonating with the same voice, you know. In unity there is power. Africans being united, kutandika na wano tukola so many groups obukundi bungi, you know. You come here and first of all get to know that okay, ndi Muslim. You have a WhatsApp group, you have, you know, like Muslim Youth of Boston, you have maybe a Muslim group in Texas and California and Washington, Seattle. Then you organize as a tribe, okay, Buganda, Bumu, then Banyankore, Baina, there's Bachiga Nation, there is Banyankore Kweterana, something like that. On a tribal level. Then we go from that and then organize as a country, as Uganda, as Kenya, and then we play different matches. Independence Day, together. So tutandise mpola mpola, but it has to grow on a larger scale until that time when we begin to talk about, okay, now we have enough numbers as Kenyans and Ugandans and South Africans and Tanzanians. Once we sit down and say, this is what we want to form and come up with, there's no stopping us, because we have been enlightened, we have been educated, we have the tools, we have the power, we have the will, we have everything we need to move forward. And then at that time, there's no stopping us.
Yeah. Umar, I would have the call,
No?
but hello. So, to add on to what you just said, right? It's one thing to talk about something, and then it's another to actually do something about it. Like omuntu ayinza olowooza mbu, like, okay, I am faced with this issue. What can I do to help? Already abantu bagezaako okukyogerako, at least to bring attention to what's going on. So in your capacity, whatever job that you're doing, for example, in cutting over Justice Julius Outende, wherever Daliku ICJ or whatever, in your capacity, in whatever job that you're doing, you're able to do something over together. And it's just those little actions that end up cascading into something like much bigger. Torozambu, because I'm doing a certain job X, there's nothing I can do about it. Like, woba ekintu tosobola kukijjawo namanyi go physically with your own hands, you can at least talk about it and bring attention to what's going on. Nogama man. Actually, the deal that we are getting as Africans, si nungi obokitegera tulowooza mbu nti lwako bano bagayi bakoze ABCD until they have our best interests at heart. So that's good that people are actually talking about it and people are much more aware, because the very first step to solving a problem is recognizing the obvious.
Yeah.
You can't continue with the same thing. But that being said, people should just go on and continue doing anything they can possibly do within their capacity. Into tell a friend to tell a friend, like, hey, this is actually what we need to do. Kubanga, another thing that we should actually think about as Africans, your negotiation power. By the time you come to the table, or not some kind of leverage.
You have something to give.
Yeah, kubanga otherwise, if you come to the table and you don't have a whole lot of leverage, they will always keep on having the upper hand. Or watch together. You'll be forced into a position that you do not agree with, but because toina, how do you rebuttal this? Like like the whole AGOA situation when the US took us off the AGOA list. What's the alternative? Or watch together. Like, are we going to just come back to the table and like, hey, list, or there are other things we can do? Or what okay, you've taken us off the AGOA list, then let's strengthen the ties between fellow African nations. In like neighboring African countries. Kenya is our biggest trade partner. It's not even the US. Or what's Kenya. So you could start with just those relationships like Uganda, Kenya, Uganda, Malawi, Uganda, South Sudan, or whatever. Strengthen those relationships, and we strengthen the trade within the continent before even thinking about, okay, like, oh my God, AGOA. Kubanga, being on the AGOA list is good, but it's not the only way people have been making money, because abantu abadde benefiting from that list, it's not a whole lot, it's not the majority. Kubanga, like an ordinary farmer back home in Uganda, ayinza okuba abadde talina capacity ya exporting to what? To America. Nga ayina relying on a much bigger export company gy'atwalira ebirime bye, then ne balyoka babireeta ewa America. So he's still not getting the best deal, because the company that is established in Uganda is going to buy him at a lower price. And then for them, they take the difference. There's still a middleman in there. So your focus should not necessarily be AGOA. Let's try and strengthen the ties we have within the African continent, and that's how you slowly go away from the dependence, like to depending on for our economic progress. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way.
Continental trade. We have to have something to offer as a country first, and as a continent.
Exactly.
I think as chetuli mukola as like Africans in the diaspora right now. Ojja kusanga nga ffena tuli mu kusoma, abasinga okko bungi bagezaako okusoma to get to the high positions and see what we can offer later on in life, maybe 10 years or 20 or 30 years from now. It's not always going to be gloomy. Like, the picture is not always going to be like it is right now. Most avenues are closed. I think the future is bright. I like to picture the future of Africa as being bright. Fahad yoli wano, tomorrow you might have a classmate you went to school with, maybe ngazeyo kati ye head of oil exploration, or company. Nomubuuza, how can I integrate my technology gwe mmanyi ku mulimu gwange to make the oil industry better? So that way gwe osalawo n'ogamba nti I'm not going to be limited by boundaries. Nti ndi mu America sisobola genda kukola mu Africa, because there are some Nigerians that are doing big. But they are here, but they are striking deals worth millions and millions of money. Now we want to be able to replicate that on a continental level. Toyota genda mu Uganda yokka, genda mu Nigeria, open all the doors, open all the boundaries, all the borders. Bilateral trade, amongst different African countries, but not just, but as countries only, on an individual basis. And then you're trading in Benin, you're selling, whether it's online or you're shipping physical products there. And they could be doing the same thing. You might see different products that you like. It could be bangles, could be drums, it could be software, it could be anything that they have to offer from there, and then you get those services here as well. And it's opening up so many doors for Africans as a group, as a group of people. And thereby creating the wealth that we so much crave for.
Yeah, and for that to happen, like there has to be some element of trust between African countries. Into Uganda cause a product I got to China. Or what sorry, not China, like Nigeria. Where tuba tukute product eyo, one fenga wana Uganda tulina okumakinga sure nti to following standards ezo, it's a top quality product. And so gitwale Nigeria, and so gitwale Kenya, and so gitwale South Sudan, and oyo muntu agenda receiving a good quality product, if not even better than kangezo muntu kangezo wabadde agenda importing from outside countries, right? If we do our part and the products that we are making are good quality products, or watch together, let the product speak for itself. Into like the whole gist of like political environment. That's not to discount Mono. There's a lot that has to happen on the political side to facilitate this kind of trade to happen. Kubanga, for it to happen, like proper infrastructure into what will a rail line eve Kampala negenda paka Mombasa into wembande se byamaguzi byange bivudde a Kampala. It's going to take me 1 day or less than 1 day for that product to be in Nairobi and onto the shelves of like supermarkets. People can buy it. So infrastructure, one, is a big thing. The quality of the products that we are making as Africans also has to improve. So that abafirika bannaffe basobola okukola ki okubelieving in that product. And it's not even just like physical products alone, because one of the biggest examples that I can give you right now is like the music industry in Africa, right? That one is doing really well because the product that is coming out of Africa from a musical perspective is actually a very good product. It can be consumed by not just like an African entity, but it can also be consumed like on a much global scale, like with in the US, that music. In Uganda, that music is still going to play, no matter where you are in the world, because it's such a good product. Everybody is like, bring that Afrobeat, watch together. So
beat to the world.
Watch together. So how can you get some of those lessons that Nigeria has done or South Africa has done to improve that product and take those lessons, let's say from the music industry, and apply it across all other industries, let's say telecom, manufacturing, agriculture, or watch together? What are some of the key points that we can learn from there? Nigeria has a media ministry, I think, culture and media ministry that helps the artists to promote their music, which ne global scene just the Nigerians alone, by consuming their product, their artists can make like a substantial living. You understand what I'm saying? So how do you get some of those lessons and you apply it across not only just Uganda or Kenya, like across the entire continent? You understand what I'm saying?
So we are doing great on the music perspective, the actually entertainment.
Exactly.
Entertainment too, doing well. But do we only have to offer entertainment? And if that entertainment we are actually leading, are we leading? Are we doing well? But are we leading? I don't know. It could be.
I would say we are, because people don't listen to hip hop anymore. Everyone is listening to Afrobeats. You look at like top charting music across the entire world. Afrobeats is right up there. Like it's hard to believe like right now, like an Afrobeat song can get even like 1 billion views. You would not think about that in 20 something.
Yeah,
like in the 90s.
The numbers are there, but we won't turn that into revenue. Revenue, do we have like whatever? Hip hop has made like 3, maybe 4 billionaires over the last 50 years. It has existed. But tuina okuyiga mu hip hop nti okay, hip hop ye alese kino naye in the last 50 years, it has made billionaires and millionaires multiple. Naye bayizeemu ki? We still don't have black schools in America. Until okay, you pop it at the black schools, because that is one of the biggest problems we're facing as a black community. You know, schools, the school system, sinonji. But as hip hop as an industry, big as it is, with Sente is it, you would think they would probably have like maybe at least a school in each state, which is doable. It's very much doable.
Yeah.
So fetwizemu nti osobola, we can make that entertainment industry and actually produce results that we want. And what our biggest problems is literacy, and mindset change. So when entertainment industry wa Burna Boy bani, okay, after all that is done, what do we have to show for it? Okay, they are billionaires, they have made this amount of money, they have produced, they have gone platinum and double platinum. But after that, what is the discussion? Okay, they have established schools that are helping change the mindset, redirect the discourse. You're capable, believe in yourself. They have started maybe podcasts that their sole purpose is to teach, nurture, educate, and free the African mind of the mental slavery and colonial effects.
Yeah, and
so
what I can tell you,
after everything is done, what have we done, and what is there to show for the success?
Exactly. So you have to make sure you use your 15 minutes. Like your 15 minutes, they say 15 minutes of fame, but like there's a match. Yeah, like it's just an idiom. Like you get your 15 minutes, but what are you going to use it for, right? Because at times katonda kwa opportunity, and kubanga as you progress in life, your income is not going to be like a smooth sail. At times agenda kukawansi, agenda kuambuka. So while you're having this, you're like in this euphoria, like Afrobeats is doing well, you're making a lot of money. How are you getting that money and channeling it back into like long-term sustainable projects that are going to help further not only just your cause, but the cause of, like, let's say, the African people or watch together. And this is not, and this doesn't only apply to musicians, because there are some industries right now in Africa that are really doing well or watch together. Like music is one of them. Another one is technology. Technology is also doing well. Kumanga otunulia, like companies that have gotten up to $1 billion valuation. They are owned by Africans. They have this amazing product. They're shipping out to the entire world. These are guys that are bringing in like real revenue. Like they have proper cash flow. So while you're at the top, what other things can you then be like, okay, in the at the top right now, Mfunya Centers in Obesity, I've put up a hospital. Like by putting up a hospital, like this number of jobs in my community. We don't have to always wait for government to do these things. Like government, for me, that's what I always say.
Yeah.
Because in spite of whatever situation that you're going through, life doesn't stop. So within the existing policies, as government we can work with what is available up until if it gets better. So let's focus on the industries that are doing well. No manya bono, like, okay, an industry like technology is actually one of the most interesting ones, and I like talking about it because all it takes is like improving the mindset of the African child. Into omwana wetumu equipping with these skills of like coding, programming, cloud technology. literally the only thing you need is your brain and a laptop, and you begin making money. Or watch together, because the platforms exist. What on a companies ezimwe zibadde zigezaako kikola, like nga bajja mu Africa ne training abantu computer skills, and then they look for like a big government contract in like these other countries. Ne bagamba muno, okay, say Microsoft wants new software engineers. This company goes, they negotiate that contract with Microsoft, then they turn around and then they give people jobs within that space. And there are countries that have actually developed relying only on human resource. Singapore kutuuka where yatuuka, their biggest export is human resource. It's not manufacturing, it's not mbuno babalina bye balima ba training abantu baabwe ne babeera skilled in demand skills that command a high value on the international market. If I have 1,000 people, these 1,000 people are earning in dollars. That's revenue that's coming to the country. Or
Yeah.
Again, abasobola kati okukola ekintu kyonna kyonna ky'ayagala ewaka, asobola okugula ettaka, asobola okutandikawo faamu, asobola okukola ki, because their earning capacity has increased. You understand? So while we are thinking about like, oh my God, kati manufacturing is so hard, the price of electricity is high, it's going to be hard for me to manufacture. It's not the only industry that we can focus on as a country. Uganda has one of like the youngest populations in the entire world, and young people are resilient. They are quick to learn new things, take up new technology, or watch together. Into Umar, so what can you do kangezegwe oli wano mu diaspora? Osobola gamba muno kati twekutte together tugambye mbuno olindako wano intercessor to join ize wano kansoke mugatteko.
The intercessor.
Jebale bakulu.
Kale sebo oli otya intercessor.
Jendi sebo. Oli mutya mwenna abatuwuliriza. Tusonyiwe tutuuse leeti.
Kasita mutuuse kyekikulu.
Yeah. Weekend eri etya intercessor.
Weekend nnungi alhamdulillah. Tugitwasaganya buli kimu tugenda bulungi. Tulinze emipiira tetufunye, tulinze ku Lwakubiri.
Naye aba FA bo bazanye.
FA bazanye. Kale ssebo naye bali kigamba.
Naye wojjidde nga Fahad abadde akyatunyonyola. Tetulina nnyo topic y'amaanyi eyo gye twogerako, but we're just going through Africa's potential. After all is said and done, we are preparing what we want to do in 20 years now. Okitegeera, to equipping any skills ze twagala okukozesa, maybe if that chance comes and you're called upon to help and serve your country, nga America bayogera, if that chance comes, what are you going to? Are you going to be the one with a broken leg? Are you going to be the one giving excuses? Are you the one going to be with, asthma and all those kind of diseases? Ezitakukiza kubeera, kwenlistinga. I'm using it metaphorically. When the time comes to be part of Africa's growth, and are you going to be able to stand up? And what are you going to bring to the table? So, tugezeko kwe-equipping. The story of whatever Dubai, the Emirates, that is one that should be a testimony to all countries. Their story is so powerful. A few years ago, just a desert place, nothing much going on. Oh, they have oil, but they also have kind of strict laws, about rubber guarding and nga bali mediocre. I think balinamu n'okulwana between the Emirates kind of internal naye nga buli omu akola kiki. So ne bagamba, you people wait a minute, gw'oliyo eyo Emirate eyo ono oli eri ono ali eri, but once we come together, this is what we have to offer to the entire world. We have the oil, it's a desert place, fine, but what can we do better? So never envisioning for people to come and look at this place. They said we have to make this place as close to paradise as possible, because abantu banajja okulaba ensi yaffe. It doesn't matter what we sell them or how we, fe tugenda funa sente. So they use the oil, and I'm forgetting the name of the sheikhs. There were two sheikhs who championed that. I think one of them Yafabambi. Ne Boba realizing what they have as Emirates, just come together, United Arab Emirates, sell your oil, build places, big cities, and 20 years later, we are seeing Dubai, I think, is one of those places.
Yeah.
So that time is also going to come. But when it comes, what skills do we have? Have we earned enough skills to put Africa to the next level where we want it to be?
Yeah.
So Checho.
Nsaba Fahad ayongere mu maaso ne point ye gye yabaddemu gye namusazizaamu naye ndyoke ngatteko.
Yeah, so what I was talking about was largely the growth mindset. Okumanya ntino, like simply because you're at a point X in your life, whether it's in the trajectory of Africa's story, nti twina we tutandikidde. It doesn't necessarily mean like woboli one ogenda sigala all your life. You have to have that growth mindset. Into things are going to keep on progressing, like for the better. There's going to be ups and downs, but largely the trajectory of Africa is on the upward trend, and these people actually know it. Or what they get. It seems like the only people that do not believe that Africa is going to be this wonderful place is if I have a
But most people know.
Most people know.
Last weekend. It's already happening.
You have 1 billion people, or almost 1 billion people in Africa. The levels of literacy have gone up. From the perspective of like abantu abasomi kati bagenze by increasing economic development from Africa naye genze yeyongera waggulu. We have one of the fastest growing economic trajectories in the entire world. So the only thing that is honestly missing is that self-belief. Look, this is where we are at right now, but it's not where we are always going to be. So what sang that like for any ordinary person out there, or like omuntu ali oli muzinensi, oli mu US, oli na mu Africa mwenyini, what can you do to help progress not only just your country but the entire continent? And what we are saying is like start with what you have right now. Skills zoina already. The skills that you have already. You don't need another self-help book. You don't need another business lesson. Tandika necho choyina wabo omuntu obadde oli katwe ng'omanye okubajja. Osobola okubajja ebintu instill. How can we come together to like okwongerako oyo omuntu alina skill set eyo? And ave kweno level mbuno like ali mukukola these still products for just only, let's say, if a select few people ali mukukola wamuno like nzigi, ali mukukola saucepans. How are you going to improve that skill set that that person has, and it becomes like this big metal fabrication company that ends up supplying steel products not only to Uganda but to the entire Africa? And we've seen these stories happen even in Uganda, like Musa Bode we yatandikira yali just watch together Katwe, normal guy, he now has like a university. Abana bagena ne bakola mechanical engineering in Makerere, but Jakate wa Musa Bodena like, oh, this is actually how you're going to apply your mechanical engineering into this skill set. So finding those unique stories that are unique to our African heritage, I'm like, okay, to tandika with the skill sets that we have, we supercharge this. Government, when I took it, like, okay, but guy, by now we're to say, we are like at that level. And the example we're giving with Umar before you came in was like, what's happening, for example, with like the music industry. Music industry in Africa right now seems to be doing really well, in spite of all the political situations that are going on. So one of the things that we can ask ourselves is like, what have these guys done right to get the music industry? It might not be like the best thing right now, but what have they done right now? For something like someone can literally now produce an Afrobeat song in a remote village in Lagos, and within the next few months, he's the talk of the entire world. It's to the level right now whereby like Marvin Records, I think there's a time they were trying to do like a round, an investment round, but the valuation that they were giving the companies in like millions of dollars. And this is a recording studio in Lagos, Ostegera, that has been responsible for all this success that's happening, that you're seeing like Ariasta enjoying, Rema is enjoying, or what's together. So, okay, how can we get those lessons that we are seeing, let's say, from the music industry? What did they get right? And how can you apply it to these other industries? And you begin helping people with the skill sets that they already have, basoboro okolachi, or becoming economically independent without necessarily saying like, okay, we have this product. The only way we are going to make money is by exporting it to Europe or to America. No, just within trade within the African continent alone, if we improve that, you will see a very big, significant shift in as regards to like GDP growth for whether it's Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Sijui, all these other African countries, just by trading with one another. Because you have a bigger consumer base. You're talking about like 1 billion people. So we need to empower ourselves. Woboina koina intercessor. Gama, okay, because the center was in obesity. My expertise is in the pharmaceutical industry, right? How can I partner with someone back home and I supercharge this thing so that when we are developing a drug in Uganda, we can get all the approvals from Uganda and boom. You know, that's where we were at when you came in. Are you mute? You're muted.
Webale nnyo ssebo ddala okubeera nti oyogera points z'oyogedde nnyingi nnyo ngenda gezaako okubeera nga dissectinga some of them oba nga supplementinga some of them. Ekituufu kiri nti ddala nga bw'oyogedde nti obusobozi tubulina, ebintu tubirina, minerals tuzirina. Essaawa kaakati tufunye education to the highest top in every corner of Africa. Kuba sigenda kwogerera Uganda yuka. In every corner of Africa, we have people who are so educated that can manifest everything they've studied over everything they've studied. Because tufunye education in several terms. Tulinako abafunye education due to migrating to the Western world. Yeah. Netuberako abafunye education nga bavudde mu Africa ne bagenda ne basoma India, which is teaching the highest technology, computer science you could ever have. Ne basoma ne bakomawo Uganda. But what happens, bonna bakomawo Uganda, they cannot manifest whatever they did. They can't do the practicals. Netufuna abasomye mu Western world nga basomye n'abaana ne bajja ne bakola ki, naye most of them bwe tubalabye abamu ba reachinze on that on that highest mountain top, nebagamba, I can't fit back where I came from. They got, some of them, sagala kwesa kigambo nti they hated, naye some of them felt like I can't get what my goals want if I go back to zero again. Mwekyo tulabamu ki? How do we start showing these kids because tujjukire nti wadde abaana bano abafulumya universities baba bagezi basomye balina knowledge, tujjukire nti abaana bano baba bakyali bato, ebirowoozo byabwe biba bikyalina tunnel vision, balowooleza mu either nti I'm starting my family, I want to go there, oba okitegeera kati tebalina that aspect nti yes, right now everything might be looking bleak, but if you go and establish this and that, you're going to be a Mark Zuckerberg, you're going to be a Jeff Bezos, you're going to be whatever you really thought you wouldn't be possible, would be possible for you even faster, because Uganda or Africa is still a virgin land. So how do we start making these young kids they see opportunities, they see that it's possible? How do we start painting a picture? Awenzigira ku bafuzi baffe. Abafuzi baffe, yes, it's nice nti oyogedde ku music industry mu Uganda ne mu Africa. When I look at Uganda as Uganda, mu bintu byonna, I guess I'll thank some leaders right now currently in the cabinet. They really love music. Why do I say that? Because it's one sector, more art industry, it's one sector they've really financed. Okay? Even if it's not there to the levels of Nigeria, to the levels of Ghana, or South Africa, but at least this is something they've been investing in. Kati, level chije tulina okuddako kubeera nti tubeera nti to manifesting what we're talking about here. The same way they are doing that, or the same way they are trying to achieve whatever they are trying to achieve out of music, is the same way they should be looking at metal fabrication. It's the same way they should be looking at kids who are working in HVAC, kids who want to learn to do electronics and electric engineering and all that. It's the same way they should be putting money in kids who are trying to learn how to construct buildings. Abazimbi. It's funny, I think Uganda yokaye wali ensi nti omuzimbi ogamba nti nze nkuba mwiko. Nti nze nvuga akawilbaro ka cement nenkasawali. It's the only country where they will laugh at you.
Tewali ajja kuwa kanamba.
Okay? Bakutunulira baga kalera bono. At the end of the day, nagenda kubajjudde cement. This is the only country where omuntu wate oba musekerera. Naye, I'll tell you nzo omuntu abaddeko ali exposed atambuddeko mu Western world. Baana mmwe abali mu buzimbi. You don't know what you have. You have gold. You have gold. Kubanga omwana oyo amanyi okutandika ennyumba nga bwetandika nti akoze ku project ziringa mmeka n'agenda n'amanya nti nasima omusingi bwenti ne tutandika okulayinga bricks bwetuti ne tuyiwa slab bwetuti ebintu ebyo byamanyi n'omwana oyo Katonda n'amusitula n'amugja e Uganda awo waali n'ajja n'agenda n'akola apprenticeship kumala just emyaka 2 gyokka eja apprenticeship nga akolera omuntu ne waba nga akolera sentence n'entya n'atandika okubeera nti gwakolera amuyambako okuzimba okola ki omwana oyo mu myaka 5 agenda kuba millionaire mu myaka 5 cause mu myaka 5 omwana oyo asobola okugenda n'afuuka his own product, his own boss. Ne babanga yennyini gwe bakubira akasimu nti sebo nkusaba kunzimbira kino, sebo ntulina ennyumba wetiti twagala gizimba, sebo twagala kubano tukozesa drywall, tukozesa hard plywood, tukozesa hardwood, just tetugira nnyo ng'ebyekaate ebizibu ennyo. Naye ono omwana ayina bazita skills ezisobola okugamba nti okenze namanyira bya bulooka n'anoonya state mu America state ki ezizimba eza bulooka. Essente z'asobola okukolako ne waaba atandika nze sisobola kubanga nzikola nga mmaze emyaka 15 mu America.
Yeah, that's true.
So mindset change.
Mindset change. Bakulu baffe, ba president baffe, ba minister baffe, basimanyi babaita member parliament representative babaita bata MPs banaye ba MPs mbegayiridde mwe abalina okutandikako okukyusa ebintu bino. Fene tunakuba endere ne tukola ki ne twogera kino ne twogera kiri ebintu bino nga temubiteesaako. Mwaba ino kutandika okusaba
byali ku colonial setting nti buli omu bwe yasomanga ngera bagamba olina okgenda Makerere, olina okgenda ku digiri, olina okufuna digiri, ogifuna bwoti you'll be able to get a job.
You get a job and you get paid.
You get a job.
A check.
You'll be comfortable. So ututandika okuva ku colonial setting eyo, you know, because it has taken kati bakadde baffe ne bajjajja baffe bo bali mu eyo setting. Ndirango omuntu wakabi era wonawira podcast zaabwe ku YouTube nga bakunyumeza emboozi ezedda, emboozi tebankadde.
Yes.
Ojalabanga they portray an image nti omuntu okubeera successful yalinga akola ku mulimu either banka muki, you know, president's office oba town council, district office, kao okitegeera. So system eyo yatu creating kubanga tusoma to get jobs. Now ensi kati ekyusa ate nnyo nti osanga abaana actually a great number of people in Africa sina Uganda yoka abaana bakomanga mu senior 4 senior 6 ne bagenda ku computer ne batandika codinga.
Yes.
Meanwhile emirimu gye bakola giveeno because nzo mbali naka company kanya katono nga netaga accountant netaga omuntu aso okumbaira ebitabo aso okundiza oba web designer, you know, wano mu America so amuwa $2 naye eri omwana mu $2 ebyo ajja kunkolera omulimu perfect job. In fact, more than enough. So there's a lot of
nsonyiwa kusala ekirimi ekyo. Nsonyiwa kusala ekirimi. Ebyo ebibiri byolaba ebyo byomuwadde oyo mwana. Currently ku economy ya Uganda abaana abasinga baba bagenze straight nga bwe babagamba mugende musome mutule mu kirasi mutuuke Makerere mufune emirimu. Omwana bwagoberera that setting bwafuluma ebibiri ebyo manyi sente agenda zikolera myezi emeka. Currently on average abaana e Uganda babasasula $35,000 omwezi. Omwezi dola meka?
$10.
Omwana oyo muwadde $2 okola that project for almost one project. Bwoba omusasula per project nga tomusasudde monthly. Omwana oyo agenda kola project meka mu mwezi?
Ayinza okukola project 10 on average.
Think about, let that sink in. Gwatuwuliriza, let that sink in. Gw'omwana omunna Uganda essaawa kakati weebeereremu. essaawa kati weebeereremu in that nti essaawa kati gwe omwana Munnayuganda agenze Makerere bw'onooba tonnakola any skill ey'omukono sooka odduka emisinde noonya any technical weeri gwe noonya ekintu kyonna kye wali oyagadde okukola mu mutwe nga kwegamba bulijjo olowooza bakizaalawa bwe kuba kubajja bwe kuba kuzimba bwe kuba kubeera nti oli makanika
ebya
kompyuta bw'obanga wayagala just kubeera ku kompyuta sooka oddeyo oyinza okukola ng'eno bw'oli Makerere ng'okolayo meja naye ng'eno olina n'eki koosi wakawo gwe atambula owa skill
weewuunye kompyuta ate byanjawulo because mulimu kompyuta ogenda okusoma IT ku university.
Yes.
Mulimu n'okusoma zino nga buno bukoosi buno myezi 2 myezi 3.
Yes.
Boot camp, something like that. Coding for software developers and engineers. Bw'oba olina ssente, go for the main thing definitely. Naye kati si bantu bangi bazirina. Ate twogera across the board, ne wano mu America, Europe, London and Africa, those abasobola okukola bu short courses over than that cyber security, enroll in such classes. Kati abaana abo bambi baba mu Africa ne enrolling mu class obo. Nze mba nina company yange because right now the biggest threat is cyber security. Utandise company yo, it's just going to take a hacker just 5 minutes okubanga account yonagikaliza obanga infiltrate in the system ngate wetaaga mutolo mulamba o cleaning up system eyo naye nga dola biri byenkugambye bibiri osobola omwana buli mwezi nga ali ku guard ali ku standby akola ebintu byonna olina obikola so okukirinkinga ku Fahad kyabadde agamba it has to go widespread mu Africa yonna nti osobola n'okuhalinga omwana e Kenya, Nigeria, Atlanta eyo, Georgia, waliyo guy oyo man, he's a millionaire now. Naye yatandika badde mu following out recently, like maybe a few years back. Bamwita Abdul Rahim something. Naye yagamba yalaba nga Amazon wogiraba. Naraba vacuum until you can, because Atlanta is a very big percentage of black people. Nagamba yagenda creating already yaliwo buy black. It's called buy black.
Buy black, yes.
Buy black. Kati nabakwera platform ga Amazon. Mugaso trading. Duli buy black kati yali online yanga manyit Shafee aina grocery store wali. Genda ngule ennyama oli ayina ki oli ayina tunda gaali natunda computer, it was within the community. So now what he did, he linked that community. Yona agiteka ku line. He's an immigrant, I think, from Ethiopia. Very young boy, not even 30 years old, but he's a millionaire now.
Yeah.
Yakwata already ekiriwo n'akiteeka ku internet, and you just click buy black omanya mind where your website buli muntu aliko muddugavu ataddeyo whatever listing, whatever service they provide. So they're creating a platform bwekyo Africa yonna. Oyaga cyber security nti okay mu Uganda oli mwana akola $2 naye ate mu Kenya wali yakola omulimu gwe gumu for 180 bargaining power okitegeera oli nagamba nze ndi bibiri oyagala wa 150 genda kumala, but here my services ne wali unakwera 10 starting entry nga n'emirimu gye kwegiri nga giraga nti ono atandise naye nga alina maybe 100 projects. Oli akusaba bibiri akulaga alina over 10,000 projects, so it's up to you nga walaba Alibaba.
Fiverr, actually that is the same thing, same setup of Fiverr. Fiverr is a breaking so many corporates Essaawa kati abaana bangi tebagenda banhayaringe nti bampa omulimu nti nkola emitwalo 10 omwaka nti ngenda 9 to 5. Abaana bangi abasobola okukola projects ng'ezo nti nja kukolera voice over, nja kukolera kino, nja kuwandiikira kiri, nja kukolera kiri, ali ku Fiverr akugamba nti nze omulimu gwo gwampa omulimu depending how big the job, ncharginga bwenti per hour, $25, $50 per hour. Kati gwe noweroboza nogenda nolaba ranking z'abo bonna boolabye nogawo naakoze emirimu bwegiti alina 5 stars 6 stars nogawo okay njagenda noono n'omuwa n'agenda napicking emirimu bwati. But we can do the same thing in Africa. Think about it Africa wide. Nga companies tezikyamanyira baana bwe batyo. Abaana bangi bakola Uganda ne bamugamba ne bamusuubiza tugenda kufuna emitwalo 4 omwezi. Naye n'emitwalo 4 ne bagaana omusasula okumala emyezi 4. It's there. Naye ng'omwana akugamba I'm employed. I think asigala ajja kuba tayagala kuluzinga bwe babanga aluzinga momentum ne bamuwaayo emyezi 2 emabega. Mukitegeera? Naye nga tetusobola kugrow, tetusobola kugaggawala oba tetusobola kukula ne tutuuka ku standard. Njagala ntuuke ku point ya Umar gye yayogeddeko eya Emirates, United Arab Emirates emyaka 2 emabega. If we flashback emyaka 2 emabega, United Arab Emirates teyalinga bweri right now, lyali ddungu. 20 years. Ndowooza ne 20 years ntutewala. I want to say 15 years.
Yep.
15 years is funny. 15 years, and you get around 2005. So anybody here, go back and Google United Arab Emirates 2005 or Dubai mainly, over Abu Dhabi. Compare the two, 2024. See what we are talking about. Tetusobola kutuuka ku level za Dubai. Nga tetusitudde bantu bonna. Kati kino kiri directly ku bantu baffe ab'e Uganda. Ekituufu kiri nti we cannot develop nga abantu abasinga, of course ensi zonna zirina middle class, first class ne poor class. Naye we have to try to lift at least 70% of the census together with us okulakulana kubanga bano abantu ba wansi middle class ye building economy. When you lift them, when you pay them, you give them something in the pocket. They are the ones that are going to go and support Nakumat. They are the ones that are going to go and support whatever Garden City or nicho necho chemutaddewo. Temulabanga mall eyakabi tulina mall biki tulina simanyi waliwo ensambya kati gye baguddewo. Arena Mall. Yes, you can do all the arena malls. Nozireta, nozisound. Wow, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's tremendous. Naye giwe emyaka 6. Is it going to sustain itself? Abantu bemusasuza okurentinga mu arena mall bagenda kujja mu sente ze bataddemu. Because people have to. Arena mall ino kubanga ina abantu nga bafuluma we bayingira on a daily. Because omuntu ono yasasudde monthly rent alina okubanga asobola okusasula monthly rent n'abeera nga naye akola profit. Bwe kita happeninga arena mall ejja closinga. Bwe closinga, all the amazing buildings that were ever created ziba tezigenda mu bantu. Zimenyeka ne zivaawo ne zifuuka nga ziringa eziri invisible. So let's think about that. We can not only put structures, ng'abantu tetuba developinze tu developinga tutya abantu by putting coin in their pockets so they can put the money back. Same thing as taxing them. You cannot tax them nga tebalina sente ke bakutereka ekinaavaamu ojja kuba obajjako musolo ki tebalina za kuwa mugenda kulwana bulwana liringa edduuka gw'olyojjamu nga ojjamu bw'ojjamu z'okola bw'ozijjamu bw'ozijjamu ojja kutuuka nga tolina liddamu lijijjuza. Simple as that. So let's think. Exactly.
So to add to your point, Shafee, for trade to exist between abantu, why no kubera wanga waliwo income eja obakitegera nti, and that goes back to your point, like in terms of skill sets omuntu zobo empowering and you develop omuntu asobola okubeera nga nayingiza sente ezisobola okumugasa mu nsawo waba ina sente kitegeeza zino sente agenda kusobola okugenda okuzispendinga on another person's business, and that way you keep on having cash flow in there. One thing I wanted to put you guys' attention to, last year alone, why is this important? Last year alone, Omani center makers have from US to Navagana UK, from US to Uganda, 4.2 trillion. 4.2 trillion shillings, which is like over $1 billion remittances.
Remittances over.
But then remittances.
That's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, and it keeps on going up every year. From the US alone, it's $1 billion. But largely, it's innocent was even in the US again. How is it spent, right? It's in most cases it's like hand to mouth, right? Ngenda kuwerezayo mami asobola okugenda okugula emmere balye waka oba bakole kyona kyebayinza okwetuusaako ewaka, right? Well, I mean, there have been discussions in Kampala, like how to tap into that potential, because that's $1 billion coming into the country, right? If that money is channeled towards like productive things that we actually generate, and maybe we end up selling to Kenya, selling to Nigeria, selling to South Africa, what does that then end up creating in terms of like the Ugandan economy? If there's something we are actually producing that we can sell to other African countries, that's how you see into omuntu kati naye omuntu owa bulijjo nti okutta $2 oziweereza mami oziweereza muganda wo ezo sente tagenda zirya buli maybe ajja kufunako kaalya naye ku katini kaafisizaawo asobola okutandikawo something that ends up going to benefit them. And then the other thing that we need to think about, like Uganda kangeza goli eno, and now you've been put in a situation where you can help out ewaka. There's this thing that usually happens, omuntu wajja nagamba bannayuganda nabavaako nze sibeesiga biki oba kitegeera, but by you judging your fellow countrymen, nolowooza muno there's nobody that is trustworthy back home, already you're putting like a block towards development, because you could be the change that ends up leading to someone's prosperity. Yes, in the past, wabaddeyo abantu maybe ababadde batakikola bulungi, but does that mean every Ugandan tewaliwo omuntu gw'osobola kwesiga, like really in this day and age? Woina ne internet banking, osobola okubeera e Uganda, osobola okubeera eno mu America, and you operate a business back home, oba kitegeera ng'osobola okutransactinga kuba balina internet banking. You want to pay a supplier, you can log on to your internet banking platform and pay that supplier directly. Wobo yagadde kola something like that. Naye wobo gambe muno ngenda kwesiga Munnayuganda munnange tusobole okugenda mu maaso. We have to agree that there has to be a starting point. Tuve mwene embeera kubanga wona agamba mbuno like ebintu byange ngenda bigula wa mu China, ngenda bigula wa mu Yindi. They are not doing the same. You, the African, wogenda a China or they'll buy from you before they buy from a Chinese person. No. So twino okwekolaki okwekkiririzaamu ngaffe inti Umar waba ina product gy'akoze weba kale it's not a good product oba ng'olaba muno, it's like quality lacking. Instead of putting him down, no musekerera n'omugamba oyo muzimbi tewali kyasobola Abannayuganda sibesiga. How can you help omuntu asobola okuva ku eno level gyaliko adde ku like this other level that puts him in a position where he can actually supply the entire country, the entire continent. You understand? So by equipping, there has to be the channel was the key main takeaways from today's discussion is one, we need to trust one another as Africans. Tulekera okwekubamu enkwe nga tetunaba nagamba muno. Okay, there are so many problems that exist in Africa, but we need to trust one another and believe in our potential. Inti Umar alina skill set yesobola okukola ki okozesa. That's number one. Number two, have that growth mindset. Inti tutandikidde ku eno level, things it is rudimentary, naye at least it works. It doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to work. Buli omu alina watandikira. Zino companies zonna zetulaba zetwegomba, industries that have come out of nowhere. Uber within the last something like 20 years didn't exist. But right now it's the biggest taxi company in the entire world and it doesn't even have their own taxi. But someone thought about that idea and now it's a reality and it's an industry of its own. You look at companies in China. In China, a company can come up and within a period of like less than 5 years, it's $1 billion company. Why? They're exporting that product to any other country, just within China alone. But because they rely on one another, they believe in their skill sets as a country. Into Chinese made it, I'm going to buy from my fellow Chinaman. Or watch together. But why are we failing if okwekkiririzaamu ng'Abannayuganda nti Omunnayuganda agenda kufunayo ekintu newe kiba wallahi tekinaba kubeera perfect? Instead of saying like Abannayuganda naawe njagala okuba supportinga naye nido wawe gwe wakola taoba n'otandika kujerega. We need to change our mindset. Like, I like the product, it can work, but this is what it's missing. So how can we help each other out? If you're in these countries, figure out a way. Unayo ekintu kyonna naawe kyeweekwatako gambe mugenda kwesiga Munnayuganda munnange. So what if you lose a couple of dollars, but within a period of 5 years, like you've helped out someone back home, and by now we're about to say, watch together. That's for me. Those are my parting words.
Musajja akomekereza ng'ayogera ku kigambo ekikulu ennyo, patriotism. Abantu baffe Bannayuganda ne Africa itself, we're still lacking in patriotism. Abantu baffe, they are not as patriotic enough. We had, last week we were talking about guys like Lumumba, like abantu bali patriotic. During those times, people were still patriotic. We treated obuzibu today. Abantu baffe twegombye nnyo ensi ez'ebweru, oba nkibuleminga ku Hollywood oba ku ki simanyi, because tukulidde mu generation nga all they fantasize and all they look at as role models is Hollywood. Hollywood, from music to movies to then tugende mu sports. Abantu baffe twegombye nnyo ebyabalala ne tusooka ne tuteetunulako. Mu nsi gye buva bwenkana bw'oba nga tomanyi gwe ky'oli n'otosooka gwe kwezuula n'otamanya wa woolaga w'oli ne woolaga, most of the time bireesa obuzibu. Kati tulina okuddayo from the scratch, tuddeyo tumanye nti okay, twali tusobezza, let's start over. We need to start wanting our stuff. We need to start liking our things, Ugandans for Ugandans. Nga wawulya kati kyowulidde nti buy black. We need to pick those sentiments, because We need to go back to caring for our people. Kubanga munsi yonna gyogenda okulaga twegombye nnyo abazungu tukoze ki naye batulaze nti they always underlooked us, they always saw us as abatamanyi oba abatalina, regardless of what knowledge gyetubalaze gyetufunye, always bagala tujje last because balina patriotism, because bo bagala abantu baabwe, their people come first. Yes, tuyinza obanenya nti batu racial profiling, bali racist oba biki. They want their people first and we will come last. Okiwulira? Because if omuddugavu tulina that disadvantage nti olwokuba abazungu abo balina nnyo patriotism, kati mu kwagala abantu baabwe bajja kusooka kwagala abantu baabwe abanaddako awo be bagezaako bafaanana. Kati twaliramu awo baspaana, ba Asians, bawarabu, and it happens nti gwe omuddugavu you're always going to come last. Naye ng'ate we have the power. Obugagga bwonna bwe bafunye bw'otunuulira Europe yonna nga bwe yafuna aneeno industrial revolution and all that, obugagga bwonna bwe bafunye bwava waffe. So let's change the sentiment. If we go back to being patriotic, if we go back to loving one another, if we go back to loving us as Black people first, lifting out of what we are, protecting our own, protecting our minerals, developing our minerals, we start having control at tumalaga wa contracts ezo za kisiru. Gwejango o running a mining yange ya gold, mining yange ya diamonds in the back of my yard. Ate oleme kusasula abantu bange. Abantu bange babeere wali nga batambuza bigere. Naye gwe okaringa gold n'omugjawo n'ojja ate n'omunguza. Amafuta gange in the back of my yard. Nigeria. Gwe ojje oleke Shell, BP, ejje drilling, refining, ekintu kyejje mu ttaka lyo. Gwe osigale ng'abantu bo baavu. How does it make sense? We need to go back to the drawing board. Nti ezo companies zonna fine tetugamba nti tetusobola ozigoba omulundi gumu, because that's also unrealistic. Kuba tubeetaaga in a way okutuyigiriza these skills. Naye tulina okumakinga contracts zino nga zitugasa. Contracts zino nti yes, ojja okukolera ewange, ojja okudrillinga in my whatever oil, ojja okumininga my diamonds, my copper, my platinum. Naye you have to have kubakulu, ku big chains, you have to have Sebuguzi, you have to have Serada, Abayiga, how these things run. In that Serada naye ajja kuyisika, wanaasika kuba buli omu ajja kubaako ne right okusika gwasika. Wanaasika ajja kusika Katende. Katende ayigirize Sebuliba. Before you know it, we don't need them. So after 10 years, 50 years, let's say 50 years or 20 years to the maximum, we can send tetukyabetaaga. Now, mujje mugule gold owaffe, nga alimiddwa ffe, nga ayokyebwa ffe, kwegamba buli kimu nga kyaffe. Tulabe ensi zaffe zitaafuuke Emirates. Okay? We need to go back to loving our places where we live. Tulina abafuzi nga feeling so comfortable okugula ticket agende bamujjanjabire German. Feeling so comfortable okugula ticket agende India. Just because he can. Naye erabira nti waliyo ku kyalo atasobola kugula ticket eyo. naye nga omufuzi oyo yateekebwamu mu siiti eyo kugenda kuyamba muntu oyo. What are we doing? Do we really love our people? Do we really love our countries? With this, I'm really going to say this. I applaud you, Kagame, Rwanda. I love what you're doing. I hope other presidents can take a leaf from your book. You're not perfect, but you're doing something because you love your country. And I appreciate that. You're starting to bring things. Anybody who is not for Rwanda, toyagala kumanya. Rwanda comes first. All other presidents need to know that. Rwanda comes first and Rwandese come first. Bogende Rwanda, olaba abantu babwe be balina emirimu. Ensi zonna endala zino eza Africa ezikulaakulanye bw'ogendayo ojja kusanga abazungu be balina emirimu. Bayindi be balina emirimu. Abafrika bali genda South Africa. Ghetto zijjuddemu baki. Goroza lwaki zino Fibia mu South Africa tevaayo. People are mad and angry. So we need to go to patriotism first. Your people, love your people, uplift your people all together, then Africa tujja kuva mu kinyate tulimu. Ebyo ebigambo byange leero.
Wow, beautiful words. As we are summarizing, always my take is freeing the mindset, making people think for themselves. Doesn't matter what you had, what you grew up listening to or being taught. Just love yourself and think for yourself. So 1868, I think the slaves were freed. Abraham Lincoln and all the bills and proclamations we bakola, but waliwo event ezaaliddinga ku kintu ekyo okubanga the slaves were freeing because abantu batandika okuwoggana, making noise and this and in 1920s awo tufuna economic Great Depression biki ebyo, still people making noise. In the 1950s we twalina Montgomery bus eya Rosa Parks. Ebyo byonna bijjawo because people's rights babeera bazirinyiridde nnyo. Awo ne bagamba kati ekimala kimala. Era we twava ku Rosa Parks, women were they started respecting them much more, and the black people on a whole as well. 1960s awo I think we tufuna Dr. King, and what he did in I think 7 years, bantu batononya ababikoze mu nsi who have been around for so many years. Kyentegeeza nti when you talk about something a lot, the universe conspires to help. The energies of the world byonna bibayamba. Naffe ng'abaddugavu tusobola okwewola ku events ezibaddewo mu history. Ne tujja ku voting rights, abaddugavu okulonda, abakazi okulonda. It's through making noise and advocating and talking and fighting, verbally with all, tools that you have in your arsenal. Ne tujja ku kyekyamanyi kye tubaddewo, the first black president. Ne tujja ku the most recent one, Colin Kaepernick, okitegeera, Black Lives Matter. Ne tujja ku byonna ebaddewo nti series of events ezo zizzenga ziriidinga ku kintu. You have to speak for yourself. Teri muntu agenda kukubira nduulu nga bali mu kubba. But people are going to come to your rescue when they hear your call. Okitegeera. You first have to make the call, then tujje. Okitegeera. Kati kyengezaako kugamba nti we have to change the mindset ng'abaddugavu fenna ng'abafirika, you know, the black people. It's our time. The time is ripe. The time is right. The time is now. Enjegere ezibadde zikutte zonna zitadde. So tulina okukkiriza nti nno, the more we spread awareness, do you love yourself? Do you love fellow black people? Do you love Africa as a continent? Omanye ebigikwatako. Do you know the history of Africa? Si gye baakusomesa naye entuufu, ate ng'entuufu gyeri. Do you know what happened 20 years ago? Do you know what is happening right now? So bwe tunaatandika okwesomesa ebintu ebyo n'okuyiga, the shift is going to come from entertainment industry as we know it to more of a literal kind of environment and industry, and people are going to be yearning for knowledge. Okitegeera ng'abantu baagala kumanya, but we have to do that fenna collectively. Bw'osanga podcast eno gye sharing gyongereyo. Bw'osanga omuntu atamanyi how they can benefit from the different African programs, mugambe. Bw'osanga omuntu ayagala okubeera engaged in so many programs in Africa and the diaspora, munnyonnyola olabe nti asobola okufunamu. There are so many African initiative programs mu Congress gyesobola okuyitamu different grants that we can actually apply for as people in the diaspora of African descent and origin to help our small communities. Most of other communities very much bikora, you know. I think on the next podcast tujja kwogera twogere ku kintu ekyo in detail ne Fahad, who has much more experience in that. Naye nga we have to change the mindset. We have to build the cities and the buildings first. Important it is, but most important thing is to build our mental capacities, our brains, our minds, and to be able to freely think about what matters and what we believe in, the United Africa, and people coming together and seeing the change that we have been so much craving for come to a reality.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to end the podcast at. Let's have self-belief and keep on sharing. Keep on sharing, share the podcast, get the word out there, and inshallah, we'll all live in a time when Africa is prosperous. Africa, like they should, honestly.
Yeah.
Fun to podcast.